Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the witnesses for being here. I want to start, Lieutenant Colonel DeMays, just asking a quick question about the security implications. I'm a military guy myself. You always need backup communications, and I see kind of that baseline backup and something that our emergency systems completely depend on. Just give me a brief statement on what AM radio does as a kind of a baseline backup emergency broadcast system and what it does for our security in this country.
Thank you, Congressman. Sure, as a military guy, you recall the old phrase, 1 is none, 2 is 1, and 3 is almost what you need. In the case of emergency management, the ability to have redundancy, the variety of platforms, knowing, again, as I mentioned earlier, that Murphy's Law at some point will intervene, and one, if not multiple platforms will fail at the most critical moment is something that we build into our emergency management processes. We want to make sure that all those resources are available to communicate with the public during a crisis. The AM radio platform in and of itself has the greatest reach of all of our forms of communication with the public and has been proven to be the most consistently reliable.
Well, very good. I think to our local broadcaster in Midland, Texas, Craig Anderson, and the ability to get information, much needed information out to the population is so important. And it's one of the keys, for broadcasting that we need. Mr. Chapman, from a broadcasting perspective, can you talk to me about the differences between the digital and analog broadcast, and is it changing? And again, like my colleagues, Mr. Curtis and others have said, I want to keep an open mind here, but I know for sure that we need AM radio in this country. And can you talk to me about digital and analog differences?
Sure. Thank you, Congressman, for the question. I'll talk real quickly in terms of the differences with AM in terms of how it's broadcast. What we're most familiar with and what we all listen to is analog AM. The other end of the spectrum is digital AM. And the receivers today, very few of them can receive all digital. What we're also familiar with is what is called hybrid, and that is stations that in-band deliver both digital and analog broadcasting. The challenge is for the hybrid broadcasting, it is not a reliable system, it is very finicky, it's tricky to keep it operating well, but it's what we chose as a country through the commission to get to the digital place that we needed on the AM band. The station I mentioned earlier in Frederick, Maryland is broadcasting in all digital. It sounds like a CD. It's wonderful, but we can't listen to it unless we have the radio that receives it.
It's a great point. So I think, wanted to establish the fact that AM radio is a national security issue. It's an issue for our emergency management system. The receiver is important in this. When I listen to K-Well in Midland, Texas, myself and many other ranchers, farmers, people that are in the oil fields, they may not have a digital receiver or a hybrid receiver. So, Mr. Schmidt, I recently signed on to a letter, and upstairs we're having a committee hearing on mandates from another federal agency. So I'm not a pro-mandate kind of a person, but I am very concerned about the lack of AM radios in vehicles, and I'd like to hear, what your thoughts are on how we continue to allow private markets to work, but also allow our population to have the ability to tune in because it really is a national security issue.
Yeah, thank you for the comment and question. As I've reiterated, I think our members are fully committed to providing a plethora of options and mechanisms through the iPod system. AM radio is one of them. We also, our members go through and look at the consumer demands, consumer listenership, and that folds into their individual product decisions, which I can't elaborate on any further. But it is, manufacturers now offer kind of a dizzying amount of options, and I think that's good. And we look forward to working with the federal government, FEMA, and the IPOS and trying to strengthening the whole system, because I do understand and recognize through the various strategic plans that even FEMA has concerns about AM radio's future because of the declining listenership. And so we have to look forward at what we can do to to provide the kind of, the nation with what they need. Thank you.
I would encourage that. It's very important. This is foundational to our national security and to getting information out to the populace. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.